Hey guys, my name is Allison. I write under the pen name A.G.M. Campbell, and my first novel, Pyro, I published a couple years ago, but now I'm ready to come back into the publishing and writing world and get more out there. I took a hiatus from YouTube for quite a while, just to deal with some things in my personal life, but now I'm back and ready to go and ready to get some more content up for you on YouTube. So first of all, in this video, I want to talk about blurbs. If you don't remember, I will link below the first video I did on blurbs, which was very helpful to me when I was actually filming that video and working on the plan for that. It actually helped me write my blurb for Pyro. And this time around, I made a plan to make this video about writing the blurb for a sequel, and it helped me a lot in writing the blurb for my second book, which will be coming out very soon. And at the end of this video, I will be sharing the blurb that I wrote for that book, so you can stay tuned for that. In the meantime, let's hop into the video and give you some advice on how to write a blurb for a sequel. So I took a look at several different blurbs for sequel books to try and figure out what is usually in blurbs that I can use, like basically bullet points that I need to include. And those ended up being something to establish the conflict and or world of book one, and then an update on where the main character is at in their life. And then you name the conflict and how it is currently disrupting the status quo. And then the next bullet point would be more hints about the conflict and complications in the main character's life. For instance, using a phrase like "to complicate matters," and then there's more conflict. Another bullet point is questions are raised, and there is mention of what the main character might have to face as they deal with the conflict. And then finally, there may be an explicit reference to book one, naming its title or the title of the series, but this one I definitely see as optional. So let's get into some examples. First, we have White is for Magic by Lori Faria-Stollarz. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. This is a young adult thriller series that I really enjoyed. I read the entire series. So let me read this blurb to you, and we can see how many bullet points it ends up having from what I just read to you. A year has passed since Stacy Brown saved her best friend from a horrible death. Now she's having nightmares again, haunted by ghosts of the brutally murdered, and by a crazed stalker. As she desperately casts healing spells, a new student named Jacob enters her world. Beautiful and mysterious, he reveals that he is also having dreams. To stop a killer, they must join together. But can Jacob be trusted, or will this new love cause her darkest dreams to come true? So this fulfills a lot of the pattern that I noticed. It starts with a year has passed since this happened to the main character. Now she's having nightmares again, so that's the current status quo for the main character. And then as she's desperately casting healing spells, she meets somebody new, and he is also having dreams, so they have to join together. But can he be trusted? So it raises these questions and potential for conflict. So I really like the way this is written, and I think it pulls you in from the get-go. Let's get into another one. This is Princess in the Spotlight. If you watched my first video, I read the blurb for The Princess Diaries, which is the first one in this series. But I thought it would be fun to bring back book two. And this is by Meg Cabot. Just when Mia thought she had the whole princess thing under control, things get out of hand fast. First, there's an unexpected announcement from her mother. Then, Grandmère arranges a national primetime interview for the brand new Crown Princess of Genovia. On top of that, intriguing, exasperating letters from a secret admirer begin to arrive. Before she even has the chance to wonder who those letters are from, Mia is swept up in a whirlwind of royal intrigue, the likes of which hasn't been seen since Volume 1 of The Princess Diaries. So this one actually ends with a reference to Book 1, which I think, like I said, I think it's optional, but it is a good idea just to remind the reader again what Book 1 was in case they haven't read it before, so they can be like, oh, this sounds good, but I haven't read The Princess Diaries. I should probably read that first. So it's just another callback to, hey, this story is already established, so you might want to pick up Book 1 first. The first sentence of this really does a lot of things. Just when Mia thought she had the whole princess thing under control. So that's a callback to the main character and also what she was dealing with in Book 1. And then things get out of hand, so that is initiating that there's some conflict. And then it lists the conflicts. First there's this, then there's this. So that gets the two different conflicts named. And yeah, it's short and sweet and to the point. So that's another good blurb. And then I will read the blurb for Inner Demons by Sarah Cannon, who is also on YouTube, another indie author who I love. Harper Madison is willing to do whatever it takes to get answers about the disappearance of her mother and about her own strange powers, even if it means joining the Demons cheerleading squad, a secret training ground for witches. The training opens up a new world for Harper. It's a world of beauty and magic beyond her wildest dreams, but it's also a world of sinister expectations, a world where every secret hides an even darker secret. So this one, also short and sweet, as they all should be typically under 200 words. Although a lot of them are under 100 words even. So this first sentence establishes who the main character is and what she's been dealing with since Book 1, the disappearance of her mother and her own strange powers. And then the way it phrases the conflict is interesting because it mentions that she has to join this cheerleading squad and it opens up a whole new world for her. But it's a world of sinister expectations where every secret hides an even darker secret. And it kind of leaves that open-ended. There are no explicit questions raised, but you do have questions by the end of the blurb, and you want to read more. So you can do this in a manner of ways. You can raise questions without saying, you know, what is this secret that she has to unveil? Or what is the cheerleading squad hiding from her? Something like that. You don't have to say it as a question to raise questions. Let's get into another one. City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare, part of her City of Bones, her Mortal Instruments series. Clary Frey just wishes that her life would go back to normal. But what's normal when you're a demon-slaying shadow hunter, your mother is in a magically induced coma, and you can suddenly see downworlders like werewolves, vampires, and fairies? Clary would love to spend more time with her best friend Simon, but the shadow hunters won't let her go, especially her handsome, infuriating newfound brother Jace. And Clary's only chance to help her mother is to track down rogue shadow hunter Valentine, who is probably insane, certainly evil, and also her father. When the second of the mortal instruments is stolen, the terrifying Inquisitor suspects Jace. Could Jace really be willing to betray everything he believes in to help their father? This one is a little bit longer, but very thorough and definitely hits on most of the bullet points I named. So she wishes that her life would go back to normal, but what's normal when you're a demon-slaying shadow hunter, your mother's in a magically induced coma, and you can suddenly see downworlders? So that's really getting into the heart of book 1 and what she had to deal with in jumping into this fantasy world and being introduced to all of that. And then part of the conflict is that she would love to spend more time with her best friend, but the shadow hunters won't let her go, so she can't really go back to a normal life. And then her only chance to help her mother is to track down this rogue shadow hunter, who also happens to be her father. Big kicker. And then there's a second conflict of the Inquisitor suspecting Jace, her brother. And then the question at the end, could Jace really be willing to betray everything he believes in to help his father? So this one, I believe, is very well written. And then we have one more example, which I just grabbed Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling because I thought it would be a good example. And, you know, it's in the fantasy genre, which is what my series is, so it's relevant. And also, I don't remember really reading these blurbs as a kid because Harry Potter was just kind of there and like handed to me, and I automatically wanted to read it without even knowing what it was about. But let's dig into what it actually says. The Dursleys were so mean and hideous that summer that all Harry Potter wanted was to get back to the Hogwarts School for Witchcraft and Wizardry. But just as he's packing his bags, Harry receives a warning from a strange impish creature named Dobby, who says that if Harry Potter returns to Hogwarts, disaster will strike. And strike it does, for in Harry's second year at Hogwarts, fresh torments and horrors arise, including an outrageously stuck-up new professor, Gilderoy Lockhart, a spirit named Moaning Myrtle who haunts the girls' bathroom, and the unwanted attentions of Ron Weasley's younger sister, Ginny. But each of these seem minor annoyances when the real trouble begins, and someone, or something, starts turning Hogwarts students to stone. Could it be Draco Malfoy, a more poisonous rival than ever? Could it possibly be Hagrid, whose mysterious past is finally told? Or could it be the one everyone at Hogwarts most suspects, Harry Potter himself? So this one is a little bit longer, and it's also written in a format of 3 paragraphs, which it's up to you if you want your blurb to be split into paragraphs or you just want it all one chunk of text. It just depends on how long it is and how you want it to look on the back of the book. In my opinion, the longer it is, the more intimidating it might appear to the reader, like, oh, there's a lot going on here, like this might be too complicated, there might be too many characters. They might not be as interested in reading through a blurb that long. That's just my opinion though. But I do think this is a very good blurb that really hits on all the most important points of this book, having read it. So the first sentence does reference that Harry wants to go back to this school. The school that we all know about was introduced in book 1. But he receives a warning from Dobby, who says that if he returns to Hogwarts, disaster will strike. So that's the inciting incident and the beginning of the conflict. In my opinion, for book 2, you don't have to express the inciting incident necessarily to lead into what the conflict is, but you can. It just depends on what the inciting incident is and how you want to write it, basically. You'll see in my example later on, my personal example, that I did include a hint of what the inciting incident is in my second book. And then there's basically a list of all these strange things Harry has to deal with in this new school year. But the main conflict is saved for the third paragraph, when students start turning to stone. And then it raises the questions of, could it be Draco? Could it be Hagrid? Or could it be Harry himself? So it ends with you really wanting to know who done it, basically. It's a mystery. So that's a good example. And now I will read you what I wrote, an example of a blurb for a sequel. So this is my blurb that I wrote for Hydro, which will be coming out very soon. Months after Lady Catherine's fateful fall, Melissa is excited to start a new chapter at Strangeton University. However, on her first day of college, her plan to have a good year gets turned on its head when she is betrayed by someone close to her. To make matters worse, the underground is under threat once again, seemingly by one of its own. Is this a new enemy, or could Lady Catherine be pulling the strings? As Melissa finds herself powerless and more isolated than ever before, she must find new ways to protect the ones she loves in the search for the fire within herself. So, I tried to use as many of those bullet points as I could. I did not explicitly mention the title of book 1, but I figured it just didn't feel natural to do that, so I left that bullet point off, which is another reason why I think it's optional. Just if it feels right, you can include that, like returning to the world of Pyro or the Elemental Underground series. I will make it obvious on other parts of the book, like the spine and the front cover, and even probably part of the back cover, that it is book 2 in a series. So you just want to make sure that it's clear on your cover that it's not book 1 and it's not a standalone. There is more to the story that you should preferably read beforehand. But as long as that's clear, I don't think you have to name the title of book 1 if you don't want to. So we have months after Lady Catherine's fall, so a reference to what happened at the end of book 1 and where we left off. Melissa is excited to start a new chapter at her new school. So there's the status quo of the main character. However, her plan gets turned on its head when she's betrayed by someone close to her. So that's the inciting incident. And it's also the beginning of the conflict for her. To make matters worse, so that's the second part of the conflict that's introduced, the underground is under threat once again, seemingly by one of its own. Is this a new enemy, or could Lady Catherine be pulling the strings? So raising some questions. As Melissa finds herself powerless and more isolated than ever before, she must find new ways to protect the ones she loves in the search for the fire within herself. So basically discussing what the main character might have to face as she deals with the conflict. And there you have it. Hopefully this video was helpful for you, and hopefully you learned some things about how to write a blurb for a sequel in the series. I know I myself learned quite a bit just from doing this video. As you can see, it helped me to write my own blurb. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Feel free to subscribe to my channel to see more content like this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!